Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Diggin It with Eric Richey. What a time of the year. There is volleyball all over the place, whether it's club, whether it's college, whether it's junior tournaments, whether it's Hall of Fame inductions. We've got it all for you on this edition of Diggin It. Our guest today will be recently inducted into the Hall of Fame, Sandy Fussell, a 35-year coaching veteran from Assumption who's still getting the job done on the club level. We'll go to Thibodaux to talk to her in just a minute. We'll head over to Mobile and talk to Sarah Senft, the Spring Hill Beach coach who just wrapped up the Division II Nationals. We'll tell you about how her team did and how they look moving forward with so many young players on her roster. Of course, also UNO and ULM, college beach volleyball. We had a chance to catch up with them at UNO's very first home on-campus match. They've got a beautiful new facility, and we're going to talk to their head coaches and administrators and AD Tim Duncan, as well as the ULM team that just continues to win. I mean, they're over 30 wins now. So we're going to find out more about those teams as well. Wrapping up, of course, AVP, which is basically all we talked about for 3 weeks. The New Orleans Open was outstanding. Despite that crazy weather that hit on Saturday that took the Wilson ball a couple of blocks away, only to be found and made into ponchos by some of the wild fans out at Coconut Beach. Of course, our local players that we have spotlighted the last couple of weeks, Kristen Nuss, Taryn Cloth, finished in third place. Just some unbelievable volleyball, though, on Saturday, losing an unbelievable match to number 1 seed Kelly Chang and Sarah Hughes, your eventual champions on the women's side, the number 1 seeds. Also, Tony Rodriguez and Savvy Simo, man, what a triumphant return to the place where Tony injured her knee again last year, but she came back playing so well, versatile, hitting spikes left-handed. Savvy Simo getting the balls that you couldn't even believe. They end up losing to Nuss and Cloth for a 5th place finish, but very, very respectable. And on the men's side, Cam Schock, Tri Bourne, won the finals in 3. Evan Corey, Logan Weber, again, they put on such showtime volleyball. The Beach Cowboys, another top 10 finish for them. Actually, a 5th place finish, tied a career high for Evan. So we congratulate our local participants, and really a job well done. Great host site, Coconut Beach, and the AVP did the best they could under some very adverse conditions to get that tournament finished in relatively on-time status. So that's kind of a setup for the show. Let's get right to it. So as promised, we kick off this show with high school volleyball and on the highest level. I'm not talking about a state championship. I'm talking about the Hall of Fame, the Louisiana High School Sports Hall of Fame. The induction was last night, and fresh off being inducted as one of 10 new inductees is Sandy Fussell, the longtime coach at Assumption, currently at Thibodaux Regional, where she is still a club coach. Let's go to Thibodaux now and bring in Coach Sandy. What an event. What a moment. How are you doing? Have you been able to sleep a little bit since the ceremony last night in Baton Rouge?
I did actually sleep very well.
Good.
You know, I was telling you earlier, the ceremony was just such a memorable event for not only me, but I'm sure the other inductees. The LHSAA did an outstanding job with the luncheon and the ceremony and preparing us for last night. So I'm very appreciative to the LHSAA for giving me this opportunity. And it's definitely a memory that I'll never forget.
Let's back up just a little bit, because since I've known you, and I always refer to you as the Hall of Fame coach, and like, you're not in the Hall of Fame. How is that possible? So I know it was a couple years in the making. When did you officially find out that you were inducted into the Hall of Fame, and how did that go? Where were you? Give us that story.
Well, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I was actually in my one of my favorite places, Disney World. We were getting ready to get on the Ratatouille ride in Epcot, and I received a call from Karen Hoyt, and I told my 2 daughters, this is the LHSAA, I have to take this call. And it was Karen informing me that they had selected me to be in the 2023 class. My daughters were somewhat not angry, but perturbed with me a little bit because we were fixing to get on the ride and they were like, we cannot get out of line. So, I mentioned to Karen everything that was going on. I told her I'd call her back. And yep, I was in Disney World when I got the call.
What was your reaction? What did your daughters Lindsay and Morgan have to say? And outside of not wanting to get out of line at Epcot Center, what was that emotion like when you finally realized after 8 state championships, over 1,000 wins, that you were going to your rightful place in the Louisiana High School Sports Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I mean, I was overwhelmed. I was very humbled. Obviously my 2 daughters were extremely happy for me. We did go on the ride, and once getting off the ride, then I started to make phone calls, of course, to my husband Boyd, and then I tried to remember as many people as I could to contact that impacted my life over the years at Assumption, just to let them know that I was chosen to be inducted.
That's excellent. So last night, the ceremony, tell us what that was like. And I know you had a lot of, obviously your family and some friends and some coaching, people from your coaching tree were there. What was the moment like? I know the ceremony itself was broadcast, live streamed on VSN last night, your introduction, and then they played like a 10-minute video. And then at the end of that video, you walk up and you actually get your plaque and you're officially in the Hall of Fame. We have video of that. Tell us a little bit about, what stood out about last night.
I think just being able to share the moment with my family and friends. I had people from way back in my days at Assumption High. Stacy Adams was in attendance. She and I actually started coaching at Assumption at the same time. She was actually my first assistant volleyball coach. I was, believe it or not, her assistant basketball coach, and we both coached track. So having her there meant a lot to me. Some of my former principals were in attendance. My brother Rodney was principal at Assumption for 2 years. It was, memorable to have him there sharing the moment. My sister Courtney, my 2 daughters, Lindsay and Morgan, my son-in-law Jared, and my future son-in-law Devin. And then, of course, to have my 2 grandbabies there, taking all of this in it was such a memorable moment. I had quite a few co-workers from Thibodeau Regional in attendance, and for them to be present for this honor meant the world to me. And just let me know how much they support what I do here at Thibodeau Regional. And it was just, like I said, an unbelievable moment.
Well, I can tell you firsthand and tell the people that are watching and listening to our podcast just how impactful that you are and beloved in the volleyball community. You and I did play-by-play in color for VSN Volleyball 2019. We were doing a game at Country Day, and we were getting ready for the varsity game. The JV game was like in 3 sets. We're a long time away from going on. You go, hey, Eric, is it okay? We have time to go down and check out the 8th grade game, because Vanderbilt or E.D. White was playing over in the 8th grade gym at Country Day. I'm like, absolutely, I'll go with you. So we walked behind that curtain, and that game must have just wrapped up. And those players, as soon as they saw you, came running over to you, hugging you. Oh my God, Coach Sandy, we won. It was great. You should have seen. And I looked into their eyes, and I could see the impact that you've had on the next generation of volleyball players. So 35 years of coaching high school to a Hall of Fame level. And now you give private lessons, coach club with Thibodeau Regional Rise. What is staying in the game and moments like that? What does that mean to you, Coach?
I've always said I'm very appreciative to Mr. Greg Stock, our CEO, for giving me an opportunity to become part of the sports medicine staff. And now with the RISE program, me working here at Thibodeau Regional is just an extension and an opportunity for me to continue to work in the game that I've grown to love so much. And, honestly, the game of volleyball at the highest level, and to be truthful, maybe passing me by somewhat just because of my age. But the fundamentals of the game never go away. And so my focus now has turned from the high school athlete to more of the younger generation. We work with little 3 and 5-year-olds here at the wellness center in the gym, and the 6 to 8-year-olds. I coach a 12U team with club. I just love teaching the younger generation the fundamentals of the game. And then I turn things over to the younger coaches such as Cooley Fletcher, who has done an outstanding job with our Thibodeau Regional Rise program. She's full of energy. I kind of feed off her at times. Probably not quite the energy level that she has, but it's all such a great atmosphere here. And just to have an opportunity to continue to work with young girls and young women just means the world to me.
We have some pictures of those teams that you were just talking about. The 12s, I know, were very successful. Won a lot of tournaments. I think that this team right here. Tell me about the 12U team, and then we have a picture of, I think it's the juniors that you took on a road trip this year. Just the little ones. So I mean, just either team. What was that like, taking those little ones to a road tournament, and they performed very, very well.
They did. So the juniors that we're looking at right now actually were part of the grassroots bracket at the Mississippi Gulf Coast Open in March. These are young girls that were part of our junior program over the fall, and we just chose these 8 young girls to come and experience a club tournament at pretty much the highest level, because there were so many courts in the Mississippi Coliseum, and
yes,
they were just awesome. We actually had 3 practices together to kind of work on rotations and different things like that. We played 6 sets in all. We won 3 of the 6. And we were just, Callie and I were just overwhelmed by how well they played and the energy level they had. And it's just going to prepare them for next year when they actually start to travel.
That's awesome. And you say, I know when you graduated Nichols, and I know Chip Didier has been kind of instrumental as one of your mentors. He was included in the video shown last night at the ceremony. Teaching those fundamentals. I mean, that's the grassroots, and what you just said, literally. I mean, it goes back to your coaching, roots, and that's the part that you enjoy. And man, I mean, what was that like? Just this year, being able to do that and just concentrating on the youngsters.
Yeah, I mean, it was exciting, and our little 12U team. I've been working with them at the club level for, this is my 3rd year now. We started as 10-year-olds. Morgan and I, my daughter, coached them in Assumption with the Inspire program for the past 2 years. And then with my job responsibilities with our new sports complex and everything that we had going on in the gym, I was unable to kind of commute back and forth between 2 clubs. So, I turned all of my attention to the Rise program. And fortunately, all of these young ladies came on board with me. So we've developed a bond, not only with the players, but the parents. And it's just an outstanding atmosphere to be around. The parents are amazing. The girls are amazing. And it's very rewarding for me to watch them grow in the sport. Because they started not really knowing a whole lot about what volleyball, was about. And now, they're going to be outstanding high school players. I have no doubt about it.
You know, Coach, one of our mutual friends, I did not know was a mutual friend. I've known Terry Hawk LaRose for several years as my daughter Emma played for Ignite, which is Chip Didier's daughter, Allison Didier League's team. And Terry was like, hey, you ought to have Coach Sandy Fussell on your podcast sometime. I'm like, you know Coach Sandy? I know Coach Sandy. And so obviously then we start talking. I realized she played for you. She's good friends with Morgan. She is an assistant, but she was like, when she said that, she was like, you know, do you know how many members of the coaching tree that Coach Sandy has? And I'm like, you know, I know Coach Latasha and now I guess you, but then she started rattling off names. And then I saw some of them in that video last night, you know, Latasha Wise, Chelsea Bergeron, Heather Semino McBroom, and I'm sure I'm leaving out some. So tell me about your coaching tree and how much pride you take in players that, you know, coaches that played for you or were assistants for you are now coaching their own programs.
Yeah. I hesitate to start mentioning names because
you're going to forget somebody.
You know, two other young women that come to mind is Janelle Leonard, who's at Ascension Catholic in Donaldsonville.
I can't believe I forgot her. Her games were on VSN for a while.
Yeah, she was actually part of our first state championship in 1990. Chandra Ewing is now the head volleyball coach at Santamar High School. She was also part of that first state championship. I know I'm missing someone along the way. I have, of course, Kia Converse and Tara Campo, both at Assumption. Probably there are many more that coach at the middle school level or even at the club level. But it's very rewarding for me to watch them grow in the sport as well. And really, they've been very successful along the way.
What do you think that says about you and your coaching style, that you've influenced so many young women to go on to pursue coaching as a career? And I'm going to guess many of those players and coaches now that you just mentioned and I just mentioned as well, still maybe go through warm-ups the same way that you taught them, maybe teach fundamentals the same way that you taught them. What do you think that says about you as a coach?
You know, I've always just prided myself on just, you know, not only coaching the X's and O's of the sport, but to coach the young women, you know, and get them to buy into what I was trying to, you know, teach them to do. And fortunately, you know, all of my athletes did that, which I think is a big part of the success that we had. You know, watching them coach, some of them take on a little bit different personality than I had as a coach. You know, some are very energetic. Latasha, I'll be interested to see what her coaching style is now that she's at Vanderbilt. She used to be a go-getter, very energetic, you know, very vocal. But I'll be interested to see how her coaching style carried over from Dominican. You know, some of the coaches are very quiet, just like I was, and some of them have a lot of energy. So I believe it's important that they take on their personality.
Yes.
But at the same time, I think the fundamentals is, you know, part of the game. And I'm sure that they teach those fundamentals just like we did way back when.
You know, we always have our guests tell us how they started in volleyball when we have them on the show. And I know, again, that came out last night in the video that was shown on during the ceremony, but it is available at our on our on-demand, the entire ceremony. But you said that, you know, when you were at Assumption High School, the only sport available to young girls was track, and you were like, that track is not that's not my thing. So, but in 1976, you guys formed a volleyball club. In 1977, you were an official LHSAA team, and you win a regional championship right out of the gate. So a couple of those teammates on that team go to Nichols, and you go over to Nichols, and you want to be a part of that program. You didn't play, but you went to, is it Coach Marion Curtis, I believe, was the head coach at Nichols at that time. And you asked if you could be a statistician, a manager, whatever. She said, absolutely. Is that where your real love of volleyball came, and your knowledge and your coaching while you sat on that bench during those early years at Nichols, learning from Coach Curtis?
I think that was a very big part of it. I was I'm not going to say a big softball player, but softball was actually, my first love. I played in a lot of summer leagues, and at the time, Assumption didn't have a softball team. Nichols didn't have a softball team. So if I was going to become involved, it had to be through the volleyball program. And I have to say, probably that's where I started beginning to pick up the bits and pieces of the game. Fast forward, 3 years, I was actually fortunate to be a part of the very first Nichols softball team, which was very exciting. Then when I was hired on at Assumption, we didn't have a softball team, but we had a volleyball team. So it was at that point that I sort of poured all of my efforts into continuing to build a tradition of volleyball that my coach, Miss Mert Blanchard, had started, years ago.
All right, Coach, you talk about the softball team at Assumption. You mentioned your husband, Boyd, your best friend, your husband. He was also a longtime coach at Assumption with other sports, football, basketball. But softball, you got a chance to coach together. What was that like?
It was a journey. I think the kids, the girls enjoyed it. We both have such a passion for the sport. And it was, at times we disagreed on a few things that we thought needed to be done here and there. But, Boyd actually took over the program, I don't know, maybe for our last 10 plus years. He was the head coach. I was actually his assistant because being athletic director, I had a lot of duties in that regard. So it kind of took me away from the game just a little bit. But, Boyd's knowledge of the game is tremendous. And it was fun going, to practices and games with him, every day. Not many coaches get a chance to, to go to work with their husband and their children on a daily basis. So it was definitely a family affair. He actually helped with volleyball here and there along the way too. So it's just memories that I'll never forget.
And Lindsay and Morgan, your daughters, were both all-state players for you. What was it like coaching your daughters?
I actually, you hear young coaches today talk about, coaching their kids and what they have to, the turmoil sometimes that they have to go through. But, my daughters, they earned their spot on the team. Neither one played as freshmen and sophomores. Lindsay was actually a senior before she actually played at the varsity level. And Morgan got an opportunity to play as a sophomore just because of injuries to other setters in the program. But, the message today, I guess, taken from that experience with my two daughters is you don't always have to be a part of the court early on in your high school career. If you work hard and you buy time, your time to shine is going to come. But unfortunately, a lot of young girls today and their parents don't have that same mindset. They feel my daughter has to play early on, and sometimes the coaches get blamed. But my daughters were amazing. I tried to treat them just like I treated any other athlete in the program, and again, it was a joy to have an opportunity to coach them.
All right, let's talk about some of the memories from Assumption High School with all the state championships. 8 state championships. Is it 7 or 8 times that you were runner-up?
8.
8. So literally, You went to the state championship. You took your team there 16 times. I mean, you were playing for it all. That's unbelievable. I know as coaches and interviewing coaches for 3 decades, when I ask them their memories, and they always remember the losses, the close loss, they remember every point. Tell me about the 8 state championship wins. And is there one that stands out? Is there a moment that stands out? Was there a 5-set epic extra point battle that you won one in? Was there one that you won with, players that at the beginning of the season you're like, Jim Mora, playoffs? We're just going to make the playoffs, and you won a state championship with. What were some of your favorite memories of those state championship teams?
Well, I think each one in their own right was special just because of the young ladies and the coaching staff that we experienced it with. I had mentioned in part of my LHSAA interview that, I'll probably always look at the first state championship as maybe not the most special, but just instrumental in kind of building the tradition that followed, the rest of the years of my career at Assumption. Having won that first state championship kind of gave the younger players coming in an opportunity to see Assumption compete at that high level, and it sort of fueled them to try to do the same. I think all but maybe Kim Willoughby's junior and senior year, I think we were always considered underdogs in every state championship that we competed in. In 1992, when the state championship was at HL Bourgeois, I think we started 4 sophomores. At the time, Kia Converse was a freshman. I don't think we really had a senior on the court. And, going into that match, there was no way on paper that we should have come away with the victory. But, sometimes, your mindset and your attitude and your will to win pushes you through to do outstanding things. And I think that was the case. The Kim Willoughby years were amazing just because the level of talent that we had in the program. Our year that we went 44-0, of course, people look at Kim and what she brought to the program, but I think we had every aspect of the game just at the highest level with that 1998 team. And it was just amazing. And, I could go on to the other, in 2000, we went up against John Curtis, who we called them the Twin Towers. They had 2, huge middles. And it, there's no way, again, that we should have been able to come across with the victory. But, again, the girls just played extremely well. We had another young lady who followed Kim, Yakisha Lewis. You know how they say athletes get in a zone.
Yep.
She was definitely in a zone for that match. I think she finished with like 43 kills.
43 kills.
And that was in the side-out game. So, she was definitely our go-to player. But, so she was outstanding. And then, of course, the 2009 victory against Cabrini. Again, Cabrini was the heavy favorite going in. But the senior class of that team, Chelsea Bergeron, who's now at Lutcher, was a part of that class. Their will and drive to win was just amazing. And, I was so happy to see them, achieve success at the highest level.
That's fantastic. I was riding that road with you right there. I guess just a couple parting questions for you. First of all, what are you most proud of as being a coach? And when you look back at the body of work that unbelievably you're still building, what part of that, I guess, experience are you most proud of? The state championships, the way players have come out, the coaching tree. Inside, what makes you the happiest?
I really, everything you just mentioned is part of my, my pride and what I take from Assumption High in my career in volleyball. But I think what I'm most proud of is just the discipline aspect that I tried to instill in my players. I never wavered from it. I had strict rules and different things that I implemented at Assumption that, sometimes they were difficult decisions to, perhaps sit players and, not be at our strongest in different matches and whatnot. But I think that kind of fueled part of the tradition that we built because the young ladies coming in knew what to expect. and they knew that this program was going to be one that, focused on commitment and dedication and just a love of the sport. And I think, out of everything, I think that's what I'm most proud of, that, I never wavered from that coaching philosophy. And, I was very fortunate that the young women that I coached bought into it. And that, to me, is the key to our success.
And the final question, and for those that don't know, my daughter Emma plays for Thibodaux Regional Rise, so I'm there 2 times a week in that office that you're joining us right now, trying to do some VSN work. And I see you coaching, I see you scurrying, I see you on the phone, and I'm like, man, what? You're awfully busy right now. So not only are you just went into the Hall of Fame, you're coaching club teams, but your daughter Morgan is about to get married. I mean, tell me about that. Yes. I know they had the bachelorette party a little while ago that you hung with the youngins. You did, and now you got like, I think it's this weekend, isn't it? Rehearsal.
It is. It's
dinner
Friday.
Tomorrow.
Right.
It's
so
Friday.
Rehearsal dinner tomorrow, and then the ceremony is on Friday. So I'm just really excited for Morgan. Her fiance, my future son-in-law, is just an outstanding young man. It's going to be a joy to watch her walk down that aisle and just experience the excitement and the love and everything that's poured into a wedding. And couldn't be more happier. This is an exciting week. I work Monday. I'm working today. I had the Hall of Fame ceremony last night, the rehearsals coming up, the wedding. So I think next week I'm going to try to relax a little bit. But we still have a lot of club left to go. Taking my 12U team to nationals. So we're really excited about that. Going to my happy place at, Disney World. We got to spend a few days there. So some exciting times still ahead.
I would like to find a person on this planet that had a busier week than Sandy Fussell this week. Well, Coach, listen, from all of us, we're so happy for you. I hope you felt the love from the volleyball community. Such a well-deserved, fitting honor. You're in the place where you're supposed to be. And thanks for all that you've done with Emma and all the young players throughout the years. And I know when Emma goes to a private lesson with Coach Sandy, she comes out of there way more confident and feeling good about herself. So thanks for everything and congratulations, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Eric, and for everything that you do for high school sports. You're amazing, and it's a joy to talk to you. I've always enjoyed our conversation. So thank you for everything that you've done.
Well, I appreciate it. All right. It's time for us to take a break, and we certainly appreciate Coach Sandy's time. Again, the show is brought to you by Bayou Granite and Marble in Houma and now on the West Bank as well. We take a break. When we return, we're headed to Mobile, Alabama, and bring in some Spring Hill Beach Volleyball. We're back after this.
Since 2000, Bayou Granite has grown to be Southeast Louisiana's largest fabricator of stone countertops. From precise laser measurements to state-of-the-art water jet and CNC machines, we can handle your kitchen and bath needs as well as any commercial projects. Let our expert staff design and customize the right material for your home or business. Stop by our new state-of-the-art fabrication facility and showroom today at 9622 East Main Street or call us at 985-637-4911. And don't forget to like us on Facebook.
The Sports Pub and Grill in Destrehan has it all. A great place to watch the game, daily drink specials, and you won't believe the food. From our fresh 10-ounce burgers, fully loaded baked potatoes, and great salads too, like taco salad and grilled chicken. Need something to rinse it down with? How about one of our refreshing daiquiris? A great atmosphere for the whole family. Just a few miles west of the airport. The Sports Pub and Grill, 3001 Ormond Boulevard in Destrehan. Welcome back to Diggin' It with Eric Richey, and as promised, it's beach volleyball time, college beach volleyball, and we head to Mobile, Alabama to Spring Hill College and bring in Sarah Senft, the second-year beach coach. She also is an indoor assistant and was a stud player for the Badgers for 5 years at Spring Hill. Coach, thanks for joining us on the show. Have you had a chance to take a break from the beach championships over in Florida?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a busy few weeks, but finally getting some downtime, kind of catch up and reflect on our season. So thanks so much. I'm excited to be on the podcast.
Awesome. We're excited to have you. And I guess, first of all, kind of wrap up the season for us. I know it was a winning season, 16-14 overall, but I know it's not exactly where you want to be your first year. You had 23 wins. Tell me about this past weekend at Tavares, Florida, at the Hickory Point Beach, at the AVCA Small College Beach Championships, and tell us how it went for you, and just kind of give us a synopsis.
Yeah, so we started out as the 5th seed going into the tournament. We had some tough losses throughout the year to some schools, Southeastern and Southern Miss. Where we were a younger team relatively, we had some younger players higher up in our lineup than we have had in the past, so knew that was to be expected as they were learning and developing as the year went on. We had a successful first day, so the Small College Championships 3 days. So our first day, we went 2-0, which was great and put us into a good spot going forward. The second day, we played Colorado Mesa to start the day. They were in our pool, and they're the team that defeated us last year in the finals for Division II. We played them really tough. It came down to our fours court. We ended up losing 16-14 in the third set. So I thought that game could have went either way, and we competed very well. So that was a tough loss, but then we had a few hours to kind of reset. We made it to a play-in game to get into the gold bracket at 3:30, which we drew Palm Beach Atlantic, which is a team we played the past 2 years to get into the gold bracket and have beat. So we have some history with them. Unfortunately, that game didn't go our way. Again, it came down this time to our 3s and 1s pairs were still playing. They were in the third sets, but unfortunately we lost, which dropped us down to the silver bracket, which we played on Sunday. We drew Carson Newman to start, who we beat 3-0. And then we lost to St. Leo 2-3. And again, it came down to our 3s court. Just a few points here or there, but overall I was happy with the season. I thought we competed well. Just little things going forward. We only lose 2 seniors in our starting lineup. Obviously very big parts of our team. One is our 1s pair and one is the defender in our 3s. But I think this was a good year, some good experience for our underclassmen, and I'm excited going forward for what we can continue to do. And it's pretty cool that Division II is growing so much that I thought there's 8 teams that could have won. Like, we went there and I was like, I don't know. Like, in past, sometimes there's favorites, but this year it really felt like whoever was playing well, which is where you want the sport to be. It's a pretty awesome thing. In years past, maybe there's only like 2 or 3 teams that couldn't win, but it's pretty cool. You go there, and I think really there was 8 teams that could have won the championship. So
no doubt, the sport's in a great spot, and you're right there with it. You just mentioned how many awesome games that you almost won. I mean, the Southeastern, the Southern Miss, the 2 trying to get into the gold bracket, coming down to the final sets and the 4s and the 3s. Man, I mean, what a year, right? It's like you need to exhale after a year like that, Coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about just overall the experience. We had a chance to see you in person. We came over for a juniors tournament in Gulf Shores, and you hosted, teams like Nebraska. You beat Nebraska this year too. I mean, think about some of the wins that you had. But I guess with all those young players, and obviously you're losing a couple of seniors, but I mean, you look at it overall, on paper, 16-14, 6th place in the finals. But it was a successful year. Think of all the experience that those players coming back have had gained during this year.
Yeah, no, and we hosted a tour. Yeah, what you're saying, Gulf Shores. It was awesome getting to beat Nebraska. And like, it kind of shows the comparison how sports are so different. Like, we have girls that do both sports, which is pretty neat that we're kind of a hybrid program where indoor girls do indoor in the fall and beach in the spring. And Nebraska, it was all their indoor team, which was for our girls really neat because those are players you're watching, and then Stillboy Championships, they're kind of your idols.
Right.
A few of our players are from that area, and they're just like starstruck. But it was cool that we stepped up to the plate and played really well against them, and then got to play some other really good, like Barry and Hendricks were at that tournament who we beat, who were the Division III runner-up in championship this year. So
yes,
it was a really good tournament. It was cool to see all those schools get to compete beforehand. Like Barry, Stevenson, and Hendricks were all down there, and they're in Huntington. Like they're the top 4 Division III programs right now. So it's cool that they were able to play Gulf Shores. And we were able to watch their matches, which were grudge matches in Gulf Shores, and then grudge matches this weekend too.
That's great. That's great. Well, what we do with every one of our guests is we go into their background, find out how this volleyball bug bit you. So you're like myself, we're both Pennsylvania high school graduates. You were in McSherrytown and Delone High School, state champion, all-state player. Tell me about when you started playing volleyball, your high school years, what position you played. Give us that story.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, well, my mom played volleyball. She played indoor volleyball, and then she played beach volleyball on the Jose Cuervo tours, which used to be really popular. And then she kind of got me into it. She made me go to it, and she's like, "You need to do this. You're going to love it." And I was like, "Okay." Like, it's kind of a shy child, but she made me go. It kind of broke me out of my shell. And then I got to meet some really awesome people along the way, like my high school coach, Jason Lepo, Delone Catholic. He was like one of my role models, and he really made me love the sport. And then that team culture that he was able to cultivate and build, like I just knew that was something I wanted to be a part of. And then I ended up finding beach volleyball. We had this really big grass tournament called Pottstown in Pennsylvania.
That's right.
So I was able to play in that, and it was called a Beach York camp. It was an 8-week camp. We did all summer from like 10 to 4. It was in the grass, some in the sand, but all my friends would go drop us off.
How old are you at this point?
I'm probably in high school at this point. So
okay.
Early high school, like between 8th and 10th grade, would go there for 8 weeks every day of the summer. Loved it. And then I kind of just found like, oh, I really like beach volleyball. I really like indoor volleyball. And in Spring Hill, when I was looking at schools, there wasn't in 2016 a whole lot of beach programs at that point, or a lot of beach programs that let you do both sports. And we came down on a visit. I fell in love with the school and with the people. And I love that you could do both sports, that you never really had an off season, like constantly competing. And you kind of get a mental break from indoor in the spring. Beach is a little more laid back, kind of music. You're still getting lots of touches, but it was nice to be able to do both sports and kind of, you're still competing at a high level, but kind of get a little bit of a mental break. And then, came down here, fell in love. I was lucky enough, COVID happened, and then I had my 5th year, which I decided to come back. Didn't really want to leave school, didn't want to stop playing volleyball. Coach Taylor, the Southern Miss coach, he was at Spring Hill at the time, and he left. So we kind of had 2 years with different coaches coming and going. So my graduate year, Coach Martin approached me and said, I see how much you love volleyball. Do you think this would be something you'd want to do in the future? And I was like, of course. Like, I don't want to leave the sport. I love doing the sport if I could do this every day. So I was really fortunate that she gave me the opportunity to be a part of the program she built. And then, and now just kind of how it worked out. And it continued into coaching. And I love the sport. I love being around it.
Look, we're gonna dive into a couple of those things that you just brought up in just a minute, but I still want to talk to you about your playing days. So unbelievably, you get 9 letters in college, 5 in beach volleyball, 4 indoor. Tell me what it was like to be really a dual sport athlete, because those are completely different sports, indoor volleyball, court volleyball with beach volleyball. And what position did you play indoor? And tell me about what it was like playing both.
Yeah, so indoor I was a right side, and in high school I set some, so I was a setter, but when I came to Spring Hill, I mostly just hit and played the back row. And I think hitting, and I think they just complement each other really well, because indoor you have to be aggressive, you have to develop your shots, but then in beach you have time, you get to do all the touches like passing, setting, hitting. So I think my setting in high school kind of helped me be able to do beach, because I think that's a very hard skill to learn for people that have never really set before, to go into the beach game. And then I don't know, I just enjoyed that we were pretty much always in season. You're always with the same group of girls. The hitting from indoor, being a right side, that helped me in beach. And then doing beach like helped ball control wise, like with passing. You're getting so many touches, jumping, like we'd come back indoors and feel like we were flying from being in the stand so much. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm jumping so high. Like it was always so exciting. We'd come in to do indoor trials, to do a few indoor things, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm soaring right now. Are you sure this net's not low? Like, so that was always fun.
That's great. That's great. What were some of the things that stood out? Some of the big wins, some of the big matches, either on beach or indoor, where I know obviously with Coach Peggy, you had some unbelievably successful years indoor. And then, just looking back, how many years you've been in the Final Four in Division II as well. What stands out when you look back at your playing days? You're not looking back too far. It just happened a couple of years ago. But what were some of the big wins, the things that you really took pride in as a player?
I think one of the biggest things was Coach Martin breaking the NCAA record. I remember we were at Mississippi College.
Nice.
We were down in the fifth set. Like, I think we ended up reverse sweeping them. But I remember it was kind of, we're like, we're not going to let this happen. Like, we don't want to wait. And then freshman Michaela Boyer, who's from Covington, went back to serve. It was like 13-8. It was some not a good score. And we're like, oh man. And then she ended up being a few aces, and we ended up rallying to win that game, which was pretty awesome that we ended up getting that, because there was a moment during the game where like, like we just let this go. But then we had some big plays in that game that ended up, I think we won 15-13, which was pretty
that's awesome. Funny. What a way for Coach to break the record.
Yeah, that's what she said. She's like, gave me a heart attack.
Jeez. All right. So then you become, like you said, Coach Peggy comes to you and says, hey, what do you think about this coaching thing as a graduate? And you're like, God, I love volleyball. Sure. How did you make that transition as such a young player? And again, you just said Michaela Boyer, she's one of your top players. She was a teammate. Now you're coaching her. So what was that like for you? Was it awkward at all? Or how did you make that transition to, I know we're friends, but I'm going to tell you what to do now?
Yeah, I think it speaks to the culture that Coach Martin has built up. Like, we have a really, really good culture, a really good group of girls. We all know we're doing everything to help each other. They transitioned really well. They always respected me. If there was any problems or if we thought something could be a little different, when the upperclassmen would approach me, we'd have, an adult conversation. I mean, we just really have a great group of girls. So it really wasn't awkward, or there wasn't any, I don't know, not listening or any. And if there was, it got addressed. It was fixed. I mean, you just can't speak to like how great all the girls are and how much respect they have, which is something we take pride in. Like, it makes me happy being like, okay, this is like what I left when I graduated. Like, we put a lot of emphasis on that as seniors by including underclassmen. And so I think it just really speaks to the culture of the program.
That's excellent. I like that. I guess describe yourself as a coach. How would, if I've never seen you coach, or, what would your players say? Are you a player's coach? Are you a great tactician? Are you a motivator? How would you describe yourself as a coach?
Yeah, I think, in beach volleyball is a little different than indoor. In practice, I'm trying to give you the skills to use in a game, because you can't coach the whole time. You walk back and forth. You can help with calling timeouts, but there's not a whole lot. Like in indoor, in the game, you can be yelling at players, but in beach, you have to give them the tools that they can use on their own when they're on their courts if you're not there to tell them. So I think in practice, it's a lot of working on, okay, these are situations. How are we going to get out of the situation? What are we going to do? And just kind of having them solve it, and then sitting down and talking about it, and like, okay, yeah, this will work, or this doesn't work, or hey, this will work for you. So I think, I guess tactician, but just kind of communicating and talking through situations, that giving them the knowledge that they can use in the game, because I'm not always going to be there, and they need to be able to manage the game on their own. That's such an important skill in beach volleyball that I think goes overlooked sometimes, especially with juniors, that they're not always thinking like about managing the game. They're just worried about their physicality. So I think that's something we really try and develop more at the college level.
How much of the characteristics that you saw from Coach Peggy Martin have you instilled in your own coaching style? And what's it been like coaching with now Coach Peggy, and before you were a player?
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's an honor coaching with her. I think putting it as like our team values is most important to us, and that's on and off the court, holding everyone accountable. Regardless if it's shagging balls, if it's picking up like laundry, if it's like waiting for him to get off the bus, if it's doing the little things around the court, that's something I've really taken note that she expects everyone to a high standard and everyone to be a good teammate and be a good person on and off the court, which I think is so important into developing a good team culture and to having a really good team chemistry.
I want to start talking about some of your individual players. And I know you mentioned one of your seniors that play on one, Cassandra Fairley, has been so instrumental, both beach and indoor. Tell us a little bit about Cassandra, what she's meant to this program and programs, I should say.
Yeah. Oh my, yeah. She's done so much for both programs. Physically, being on the court, I mean, you could like her stats speak for herself. She was an All-American last year in indoor, and she's been a 2-time All-American in the sand. She's a great player, but she's also a great person. You know, she's always messaging me like, hey, do we have everything we need? Do you need anything? Like she's always like helping. I mean, I hope she goes into the coaching field. I think she's going to be a great coach. I think that's something she wants to do, but she's just a great player, a great teammate, a role model for the athletes, and someone that holds people accountable when it needs to be, which you always need someone to do that, someone that's going to keep a high standard and hold you to it.
Michaela Boyer is another player that plays both sports and someone we're real familiar with, working out with Joey Keener.
Yeah.
We saw Michaela quite a bit at practice, and then had some unbelievable matches with her when she played at Hannon High School. And as you said, on the North Shore, New Orleans, Covington. Tell us about Michaela. And you brought up a great point. I didn't know that story about her clutch serves and the record-setting win for coach, but that's kind of the player she is that we saw over here, and it seems like that's kind of carried over at Spring Hill.
Yeah, and she's, oh gosh, such a great player and a great personality to be around. You know, she kind of, I'll say if Cassandra lays the loss down, makes always the one kind of lightening the mood, always comes to practice in a happy mood, kind of joking around. She's definitely one of the, I would say, motivators and like fun, like always joking around, such a good energy, and obviously a great player. She was our libero this past year. She decides she's coming back for her graduate year next year. So she's going to do her COVID year and 5th year, which we're so thrilled about. She's played at our 2s and 1s, and I mean, great beach player, great indoor player, just great person to have on your team because she's always lifting those up around her.
Excellent. And on the 4s, I know you mentioned they had a tough loss in the conference championships or the small college Division II nationals. Elizabeth Hardwin was a Dominican graduate here in New Orleans, but then a year, I think, at Millsaps is where, and then she transferred.
William Carey.
Yeah. So I know she's had a lot of wins, in her first year with your program on Net 4. Comes from a great family, has another one coming up the pike too.
Yeah.
Just a great volleyball family. Tell us about Elizabeth Hardwin and what she's meant in her first year.
Yeah, she did a great job. Actually, so to start our second game on Friday, the 4s pair, they collide into each other when we're playing Erskine, and they're both bleeding. They're gushing blood on the court. It's something I'm glad our trainer was there with us because I've never experienced it, but they're both bleeding. And we were trying to figure out, Elizabeth actually ended up breaking her nose that first day and had to get stitches in it. And then she actually bit our other player's ear. So that's where that blood was coming from.
She bit her ear.
Yeah. So they just collided. And that was something I've never seen before. And I'm glad our trainer, LB, who's great, she was there. But they're crying, and all they care about is each other. And that was a really special moment for me as a coach, like thinking like, oh, that's what they care about. But then going forward, I didn't know if they were going to be able to play the next day. Like we were worried, obviously, about concussions, our first order of concern. And then when Elizabeth went to the doctor, had a broken nose, had stitches, like, is she going to be able to compete? How is she going to be able to compete? That was one of our biggest worries. So going into the Colorado Mesa match, I would say an hour beforehand, I'm not sure what my lineup's going to be. But then she ended up playing. They played great because I was concerned. I was like, well, are they going to be timid at the ball? Like, how are they going to do after that? Because we ended up forfeiting the 4s game the previous day because neither of them could come back and compete. And we just want to make sure that everything was going to be okay. Obviously no concussions, wanted to get all that tested. So they actually came back and they played great and they come down to their match, but yeah, they did great. They picked up some really good wins, beating Washington at LSU. That was a really fun game to watch. And then playing other teams like FSU later that day, really close and always competing. And yeah, has done wonders, and excited to have her next year. She's transitioning to beach only. So it'll be exciting to get to train with her all fall. And I'm excited for her future here. And yeah, just working on little things. Obviously, she'll go home this summer and work with Joey, which is always really exciting because he's such a great coach too, to help her develop more.
Yes. No, that's fantastic. I did not know that about the broken story
Yeah,
with Elizabeth. That's unbelievable. And the big year with the teammate. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to see them again and ask them about that.
I know. She's going to be they're so sweet. They're awesome. Yeah, she's going to be so embarrassed, but we can tell them the story. Yeah.
A couple of other Louisiana recruits coming in your way. I know one, Hillary Hillman from Turlings Catholic, just indoor, I believe. And I believe Emma Warren from Turlings Catholic, coming in as beach only. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Hillman?
So Haley Hillman. Yeah. She's coming in. She'll probably try both. I know a lot of our players, especially with middles and outsides, will come in and do some time in the gym in the spring, but it's a lot easier on their knees to be in the sand and they're still getting lots of touches. So she'll probably end up doing both or trying both, at least in the beginning. And then, Emma Warren, super excited to have her beach only. She'll be here in the fall, which I'm really excited because, I think she's going to be very good. I think her and Haley both. I mean, watching them play this year, and then Emma ended up getting hurt this year in high school, so she wasn't able to finish out the season with an ankle injury. But watching them play this season in high school, it was really fun, and I think they're both going to be great additions. Great kids too. Great families. I mean,
was just about to say that both come from great families too. I know it was great to see that Gulf Shores Juniors tournament that we talked about. Emma actually finally got to play again. And we were at the tournament in Baton Rouge when she injured herself, and it just never healed right. And I think maybe misdiagnosed, whatever, but she didn't get to play in the state championship. And I know that in indoor for Turlings Catholic. And I know that, or St. Thomas More. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Did I said it twice too. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. Yes. That's like saying you went to Alabama or Auburn,
Auburn. Yeah.
Yeah. I got it wrong there. Sorry. STM Emma Warren, of course. So anyway, she's back. But so again, with all the youth that you had this year, gaining that experience, you got some studs coming in as well, both indoor and beach. I mean, future's looking pretty good.
Yeah, we're excited. Young teams always learning moments, but it's always exciting because you kind of don't know what they're going to do. I think they surprise themselves sometimes, and it's going to be fun to get to see all of them develop. And all the pieces next year, I don't know where they're all going to fall. We have a lot of good young kids coming in, and then a lot of experience to add to that. So it should be a really exciting year. And even for indoor, I don't quite know where all the pieces are going to fall, but I'm excited to see, and I'm excited to see us compete. We start our first 2 weeks playing at West Florida and some really good teams, some ranked teams. So it's kind of a nice, like you see the first 2 weeks where you're at, and you have some time to adjust before. And then we go into our conference play, then we'll probably play some Gulf South, Sunshine State teams again, and kind of see where we measure up before our championship. And then hopefully if we win that, then we'll compete at regionals.
Well, you guys have done such a great job. And as you said, kind of it's a program, and, being able to compete with a great team like with Coach Walters in West Florida right out of the gate. And what a great rivalry that is. Mobile, Pensacola right there, man. That's some big time, big girl volleyball right there. So that'll be a great test right out of the gate. But listen, Coach, we really appreciate the time. It's a pleasure to talk to you and get to know a little bit of your backstory and find out more about the Pennsylvania stuff as well. And look, best of luck to you moving forward. Thanks so much for being here on the show. Take a breath, take a break. Season's over, and just relax and enjoy. And again, thanks so much for being on the show.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
You got it. Very good. All right. Time for us to take another break here on Diggin' It. When we return, we're going to keep it in the beach. We're going to keep it with college volleyball. UNO now has a home court, and it is something to see. We're going to talk about that when we return. And the beat goes on for ULM. They continue to win matches as well, over 30 wins now. Let's take a break here on Diggin' It. And again, brought to you by Bayou Granite and Marble. Back after this.
Since 2000, Bayou Granite has grown to be Southeast Louisiana's largest fabricator of stone countertops. From precise laser measurements to state-of-the-art water jet and CNC machines, we can handle your kitchen and bath needs as well as any commercial projects. Let our expert staff design and customize the right material for your home or business. Stop by our new state-of-the-art fabrication facility and showroom today at 9622 East Main Street, or call us at 985-637-4911. And don't forget to like us on Facebook.
Hi, my name is Will Sermon from St. Charles St. John Parish Farm Bureau. On behalf of my entire staff, I want to wish all the players and coaches the best of luck. Real service, real people.
Welcome back to the final segment of Diggin' It. Usually we tell you what's coming up on VSN. We'll get to that in just a bit. There's just too much beach college volleyball to talk about. We went out to UNO for their very first home match with their beautiful new beach facility. They split over the weekend, went 2-2, really having a good year for Coach Amy Blank. They're now at 18 and 15 overall, getting ready to leave for the Southland Conference tournament at Corpus Christi, Texas. So we had a chance to talk to the athletic director himself, Tim Duncan, who's very, very proud of what they've been able to accomplish with not only that complex, but the beach program. We'll talk to the beach head coach, Coach Blank, as well as players Alexis Sparks and Hannah Volpe. She's a local player. Of course, she went to high school at Chappelle. So let's hear those interviews now. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about ULM.
Yeah, the most gratifying thing is that our student athletes came to us a few years ago and wanted us to separate the beach and the indoor programs because we'd had them together. So we invested in that, hired their own separate coaching staff, and then we wanted them to have a place to play. So we took this old piece of real estate that was a tennis court in the 80s and 90s and poured some money into it, and here we are now. It's a wonderful facility that's on our campus that makes our ladies on the team so proud to have a home event. So this being the first one is a especially proud moment for me because I love the smiles on their faces.
Excellent. So in beach volleyball, as we found out, you have a couple of home tournaments a year, right?
Right.
So what are your plans moving forward with this beautiful facility?
Yeah, at the University of New Orleans, we're known as NOLA's team. We already rent many of our facilities to area youth and high school groups. For example, this summer, baseball, Maestro Field, right across there. Every week this summer, we have a different club program hosting a tournament. High school tennis plays across the street over there. Club volleyball indoor play on the main campus. So we expect this to be used by club programs, to have camps and clinics, and also for adult leagues. Where else can you go in Orleans Parish to have a great, safe play to play beach volleyball? So yeah, we expect this place to be busy and serve our community.
And a special birthday today, huh?
Yeah.
They surprised you.
They did surprise me. I should have known they had something. They asked cryptic questions like, how long will you be here and where are you going? And I didn't put it together, but I have a great team. They support us. We all love each other. We work so many hours together that we're almost like family. So I really appreciate them thinking of me on this day.
I guess, first of all, Coach, what a weekend. We've been talking about this course. A lot of work has gone into it, a lot of planning. Mm-hmm. What is it like to actually be playing a tournament and playing well?
It's incredible, and not only playing for the first time, but it's our senior night or our senior weekend. So the seniors who've been waiting for this for 4 or 5 years, they finally get to play in front of their friends, their family, and fellow privateers. So it's such an amazing weekend for all of us.
What do you think of it? I mean, I know you practiced on it before, but now that you had a tournament, what's it like? I mean, you've seen all kind of beach courts.
Yeah.
What is this one?
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, playing at your home court, it's nothing we've ever felt like before. So we're really happy to be playing here.
Tell me about this team and how it's persevering, picking up wins, having a successful season.
Yeah. So it's been such a fun season, and so many of our seniors and so many of our players have been playing at higher seeds than they have in the past. As freshmen, they were playing in the 6s and 5s, and now they're playing in the 2s and 3s. So they've all stepped it up. They all have one goal, and they've been determined and playing as hard as they can to have such a successful season.
Hi, I'm Alexis Sparks. I'm a senior at UNO on the beach volleyball team.
Alexis, tell me a little bit about the feeling inside, what it means to you to finally be playing a home match here for UNO Beach.
It feels absolutely great. I've been waiting for this for 5 years, and we finally got our home courts and it's just really a great feeling just to be like at home, like on our campus with fans and other athletes from other teams, and like supporters for our program and everyone else.
For years you've been thinking about this and can't wait to get it open and playing the tournament here. Now that it's here, what about like in your mind a couple years ago, does this like exceed expectations, or like once it's here, now you're playing, what do you think about this actual course?
Oh, it's great. It's honestly like we really couldn't ask for anything wet like better. Like it's 5 courts. Obviously, as you can see, there's a lot of space. There's like the fencing around, so like we don't have to like shag balls as far as we used to. So there's just a lot of parts that are really great about it, and we love it.
Tell me about this team having success and a lot of wins this year for you.
Yeah, we have a really successful team like all the way through. We have a lot of talent this year, so it's really nice to see that we can count on more than just 3 seeds to win.
Man, you finally have it. You have a tournament and you're winning. What's it like? What's the feeling inside with this tournament?
The atmosphere is just absolutely amazing. Like everyone here, the cheering, when everyone's surrounding the courts, it's just so great to be home, and especially when we get the win, it's so great to protect our courts, and it's just awesome. I can't say anything else about it. It's just awesome.
What about this team? I mean, having a good year. I mean, you guys are winning some matches.
Yeah, we're having a really great year, and I think every win we grow, and every loss we learn. Every time we lose, we definitely learn something from it, and we're taking that, we're bringing it into the next games, and we're ready for conference. We're ready.
So we wish Coach Blank and her players the best of luck at the Southland Conference Tournament in Corpus Christi. Now, moving on, ULM was one of the teams that were at that inaugural home beach volleyball tournament for UNO this past weekend. And you know, Michael Hobson, their head coach, he's a friend of the show. He's now be making his second appearance on this show. That puts him in pretty elite status, right? Jeremy White, maybe the only other coach that we've had on for 2 different appearances. Well, we got a chance to talk to Coach Michael a little bit more about his team since they appeared on Diggin It probably a month and a half ago, probably. And we also got to hear from some of his players, Kaylee Beck, whose sister also plays for the team, and Madeline Marquez. So let's listen to those interviews now. Coach Hobson, Kaylee Beck, and Madeline Marquez.
Hi, I'm Michael Hobson. I'm the head beach coach at ULM. I've been here for 2 seasons now, and going into my 9th season as a coach.
Excellent. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the success that you've had since we had you on the podcast. Yeah. I mean, you were off to a blazing start, and it's unbelievably still going.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to get featured on VSN, and during that feature we talked about how much we just really focused on our progress and getting better every single day, and that hasn't changed since that day, and it's kind of continued. I mean, right now we're at 29-2, got 1 more today. And I'm just really thankful for these athletes and how much hard work they're putting in and how they push each other every day. My message doesn't change. It's these athletes that are really creating this very successful and inclusive environment that we're in right now.
Hey, you probably knew you were going to have a good team this year. Did you know they'd be this good? And what do you think, what has stood out like as the wins keep piling up?
Yeah, one thing, I knew we could be really good this year. And one thing that everyone on the outside looking in looks at is that win-loss record. What they don't see is that I asked them to become a really close team, and we've become a family. I've asked them to push each other every single day, and they are so relentless when it comes to training. And those are the things that really make us a successful program. And that is something that I really look forward to, and I really applaud them on, and I'm so proud of this group. And we have not hit our ceiling yet, which is really awesome.
Well, you got just a little bit of work to do. Regular season almost over, and then conference tournament. Tell me about preparing for the conference tournament, going to Huntsville, what you have to do to come out of there with the bid to the Gulf Shores.
Yeah, right now focus is on SLU, but we have looked at the future coming up, and next week we'll take the week off. We'll have a couple days off of practice, and then we'll get back to training. And then in 2 weeks we're headed to Huntsville, Alabama to play in Sunbelt. We're really excited to see what we come out for in seeding there, but I'm really excited for that tournament. It takes 4 wins to get that AQ bid. If we lose one, we still got another chance, but I don't see us losing because of how progressive and how awesome our team has been pushing each other.
Hello, I'm Kaylee Beck. I'm a junior at ULM, and I'm from California.
Awesome. Hey, tell me a little bit about playing for ULM this year and the unbelievable success that you guys have had.
So I've been having a great time because our team has some of the best team dynamics. We've been full of energy, competing. We've been doing amazing, and I'm so happy.
What's it like playing with your sister as your partner? How cool is that?
It's been really good. We have the connection that we need. We pick up each other when one of us is slacking, and we're just super competitive, full of energy.
How did you wind up in Monroe, Louisiana from California?
So I actually am a transfer from Southern Miss, but when I entered the transfer portal, Coach reached out to me and it made sense, and that's how I ended up here with my sister.
All right, tell me what this team needs to do to kind of meet your goals this year and continue this awesome season.
I'm gonna say we just have to keep the energy up. I feel like every practice we're getting better, and we're almost towards the end line, and I know we could win conference.
Hi, I'm Madeline Marquez, and I'm a freshman at ULM. It's been actually a really smooth transition, mainly because the girls on my team make it really easy. It's really different than the high school level because the club's great, but being on a team and the team atmosphere just reminds me that I have my teammates and they have my back, and it's just been a lot more enjoyable, honestly. I think the thing that most surprised me is how easily pairs can switch up, but also how adaptable everyone is. In my mind, I thought it would be set partners, but there have been a lot of changes, but everyone's really open to the changes, and it has been a lot smoother than I thought. So.
What about the success? I mean, you walk right into a team, you're starting as a freshman, and your team's almost at 30 wins already.
Yeah. I mean, I think we had a lot of good incoming freshmen, but a lot of upperclassmen who are great leaders already, and so they were really welcoming to us, and I feel like that really attributed to our success. And I feel like everyone's work ethic is just on top, and we want it at practice, and we're always trying to get better, and we're making each other better. And I feel like in a way that we're just a new ULM team. I feel like people have seen ULM in the past as not having as much success, and we kind of use that to our advantage because we're ready. We have nothing to lose. We play more fearlessly and just go all out.
Certainly wishing Coach Hobson and his players the best of luck. Madeline Marquez, of course, another North Shore product, like Michaela Boyer. Instead of Hannon, though, she went to Mandeville. All right. What's coming up on VSN? Well, we've got the National Club Basketball Association. That's right, Cole Club Sports back on VSN. Certainly pumped about that. Men's and women's basketball championships on Sunday. We'll also have the men's quarterfinals and semifinals all weekend. Again, that's the Club Basketball Association. The national finals will be on VSN this weekend. Also, it's high school baseball playoff time. A couple of great matchups over the weekend that we'll have. And college baseball, Loyola, of course, we're the home of the Wolfpack. Loyola baseball, big 3-game set starting on Friday with Faulkner. That will do it for another edition of Diggin' It with Eric Richey. Want to thank our guest, of course, Sandy Fussell, fresh off her induction into the Hall of Fame. Sarah Senft, who is the beach volleyball coach at Spring Hill, fresh off her second season, another successful run for the Badgers head coach. And, of course, our director, Justin Thomas, who does a fabulous job putting up with me each and every week. That'll do it for now. I'm Eric Richey. We'll see you at a volleyball tournament real soon. Good night, everybody.